I would ask for a little bit of an open mind.
Well, what I would ask is, listen, I'm a YouTuber. You know, I have my words, that's all I have.
Yeah.
But you're a United States Senator. Like you're not the president, but you have power. So what are you going to do? Because so far what we've seen, I mean, you voted for some of the aid that's been used to massacre children and innocents. You know, you have backed Israel, as far as I can tell, you know, from your voting record at almost every turn. You voted for a definition of anti-Semitism that would, you know, codify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism.
Journalists, take note. I got to talk about that racist name for a team I don't even watch or follow, but now I can talk about indigenous people and how much I hate them and how much we civilized their culture with all that genocide. Blah. He's just fucking foaming at the bit for this shit. And even he's like, kind of feels like a distraction, you know? I was like, what? Wow. Okay. I guess shit is bad. Apparently Krystal Ball just fucking took one of the Democrats to town over this issue, so I want to see some of that.
Is, you know, calling them balls and strikes, if you will. So first of all, do you accept that Israel has a policy of enforced famine and starvation in the Gaza Strip?
I think I literally put my name on a letter yesterday or last night that says like a policy of starvation, people are starting to starve. And in general, I mean, I served in places like Ramadi and Fallujah. I watched in 2004 and 2005, al-Qaeda terrorists drag American citizens behind a vehicle until they died, right? Like horrible, and then string them up, like a lynching.
Okay. This wasn't the question.
We still had a responsibility to get aid into Fallujah, despite the fact that we were fighting al-Qaeda cells in Fallujah, and I have been clear about that.
So this is a crime against humanity. Forced starvation is a crime against humanity.
The occupying power has a responsibility to get aid into the war zone, period.
So
by the law of war.
So in addition, do you accept that the Israeli plan, as reported by Haaretz, as discussed openly by ministers like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, as backed by the President of the United States, is forced ethnic cleansing?
I think we have, as recently as yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel talking about forced migration into certain areas and then potentially out of the country. That is not legal. That is not on any international standard since World War II. And I've been clear about that. So I would ask for a little bit of an open mind.
Well, what I would ask is, listen, I'm a YouTuber. You know, I have my words, that's all I have. But you're a United States Senator. Like you're not the president, but you have power. So what are you going to do? Because so far what we've seen, I mean, you voted for some of the aid that's been used to massacre children and innocents. You know, you have backed Israel, as far as I can tell, you know, from your voting record at almost every turn. You voted for a definition of anti-Semitism that would, you know, codify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism.
Journalists, take note. Please, for the love of fuck, do this. Like, hold politicians accountable with their own fucking records. Say it to their face.
You voted as a member of the House to sanction the ICC for indicting Benjamin Netanyahu, who you just admitted is a war criminal, you know, by your own words. So are you going to join Senator Angus King, Senator Bernie Sanders in saying no more aid to this country that is committing war crimes against innocent civilians?
I think the first thing, if you're asking about what to do with power, and I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing in Washington. So
don't play powerless with me.
No,
with me.
You're
Thank you. Holy shit. Also, not answering the question. She's obviously a well-trained politician, you know, has been doing media circuits for a really long time, probably goes on CNN panels and has to face off against Wolf Blitzer, of all people, but is probably used to a lot more softballs and no follow-ups, right? Not having your record be put on the table in front of you, and then very clearly being like, okay, so I'm just going to start by saying, are you identifying this as some of the highest crimes that humanity can commit, the mass forced starvation of children and ethnic cleansing? I will say that I am on the record of stating that I am against those things, and also to keep an open mind. And it's like, all right, so you as a senator, you do have the ability in some capacity. Well, you could say that it is a frivolous vote, but it is a vote nonetheless that puts you on the record of stating that you are no longer going to be sending any aid to a genocidal regime. So will you do that? Well, I'd like to add that we're not in power right now. I mean, we're small beans. We don't have the power. The power's in the hands of the president.
State Senator, there are things you can do.
In terms of who runs our foreign policy, I just think it's interesting, right, that there was a ton of protests when Democrats were in charge.
There was a protest in Manhattan yesterday.
Okay.
Also, thank you. Jesus Christ, I'm so tired of this line of rhetoric that you're getting from fucking libs who bring this up all the time. It really seems like the pro-Palestinian movement only really existed as some kind of like a psyop in order to like take down Kamala Harris and her presidential run, and now they've remained silent. This movement existed long before this one specific presidential election. It existed long before October 7th, 2023. And this movement has continued globally, yes, after the election of Donald Trump's second term. What are we doing here? I keep hearing that point, and then it's like, there was literally protests on the street yesterday. The protests in my backyard. The protests taking place internationally, globally, all the time. Have you seen European soccer games? Have you watched any of them? Have you seen the clips, the video footage? Those things are stadiums full of people, both, yes, enjoying a good old football match, but also holding up signs about how the IDF are slaughtering and murdering and doing a Holocaust. Like, people are outraged internationally about this.
I think it's fair to say, just to be honest, that back and forth, like the number of protests that go on now versus before.
Well, they were part of your political coalition.
Well, not so much.
That's
I mean,
part
Senator
of it.
Slotkin,
That's fair.
Obviously, I'm here.
Yeah.
I was very upset over the Biden administration policy. And as you can tell, I'm very upset over the Trump administration policy.
Yeah.
So let's deal not in strawman, but me in the here and now.
In terms of so the tools that I have, the tools that we have in general, to me, the most important thing is a pressurized campaign to get aid into people who are starving. That to me is the number one, because that's the one is urgent and today. And that.
But will you cut off aid to Israel so long as they're committing crimes against humanity?
There is a difference between a weapon to protect.
Error 404. She's got such a set dialogue tree of things, and they don't work anymore. That's the thing, because like people are fucking aware of the situation now. You can't just revert back to the old, like, I would like to say first and foremost, October 7th was the worst attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust. And we need to acknowledge, that's not a question, it's not what I'm asking you. I think Israel has a right to defend itself. Again, not what I asked you. I believe that Israel has a right to exist. And I think anyone who doesn't believe that is anti-Semitic. Not what I asked you. Aren't the questions. And right now it's like, okay, well, we got to talk about the Iron Dome, because this is different, all right? Ultimately, while I hear you, that is probably kind of, what's the term? Fucked. Yeah, fucked to keep arming a genocidal regime that is doing the forced mass starvation of children that we're witnessing with our very eyes. So that one's bad. Okay, I might be able to work with you a little bit there. But for the defensive capabilities, I mean, ultimately, are you trying to say that you're okay with an Israeli child being killed in the middle of the night? Is that what you want? Like, again, all these same talking points, and like a lot of them just don't work. Like, you could see that with Zora Mamdani's election campaign and debates with Andrew Cuomo, where again, most people, myself, a Canadian, kind of just astonished to see that in a mayoral primary, the question is being asked first and foremost, and this is an important thing, like even that Stephen Colbert had to bring up, like, all right, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, all right? Do you believe that Israel has a right to exist? And do you believe that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish supremacist ethno-state? And if you don't, you're anti-Semitic. So let's hear it. Go. And it's like, why are we still doing this? Like, you know, I would hope that at this point, like this mythos, this illusion, this entire lie has been shattered. The idea that like all Jewish people everywhere are to blame or are responsible for the actions of Israel, a genocidal nation state, that's anti-Semitism. People recognize that now. It is extremely fucked to keep bringing this up. Like, okay, well, if you don't agree with Israel, does that mean that you're racist? What are you talking about? What Israel is doing is racist. This is an ethnic cleansing of a minority group that they are trying to exterminate from the face of the planet. Stop trying to distract us all. Stop trying to change the topic. Well, what about what that musician in Britain said? the Bob guy. He said death to the IDF. That's mean. Did you condemn that? Hamas, supreme evil. Did you condemn them?
Country from incoming missiles versus other type offensive and defensive weapons are different.
So would you support offensive weapons ban? Like, would you stop any offensive aid to Israel?
That certainly, to me, would be a place to look, but I'm not going to cut off a blanket next.
You agree that they're mass starving children? Yeah. That's one of the highest forms, if not the highest form of crimes against humanity. Yeah. Ethnic cleansing. Can you say, yeah, okay. That is made possible because of the weaponry of the United States and the backing of the U.S. military. Yep. Would you stop that? I'm open to having a discussion about perhaps in the future communicating that this is something that we could find perhaps a moment to discuss. That's you know what? I mean, I'm going to get maybe, you know, some pushback, but I need to be brave and put myself on the record here and state that word salad you just heard is my official position.
But on a defensive weapon that comes through. No.
I also reject that because, for example, if Senator Slotkin, if you were asked to support defensive weapons for Iran, defensive weapons for Russia, you wouldn't back that.
No, but Iran, I mean, but
they're defensive. They're just protecting civilians, right?
Right.
So how is it different?
But because Israel's being shot at. I mean,
well, so is Russia.
So is Iran.
Yeah.
So is Russia.
Ukraine's shooting at Russia right now. Right?
I'm sorry. This is the difference between allies, partners, and adversaries.
Oh, yep, there it is. Yeah, different things are different. Why? Oh, because I value human life differently. Yeah. See, if this is happening to Palestinian babies, yeah, sorry.
Why is it an ally then? What are they doing right now that which makes it an ally?
I think allied relationships, just like Lithuania right now, like an allied relationship or a partner relationship is a long-standing relationship of information sharing and diplomacy. And that is, to me, it's not a like every day we decide Lithuania is our ally or not. We're allied or not. And sometimes we have big breaks with allies, right? Sometimes we have difficult moments with allies. Sometimes it goes the wrong way with allies. But an allied relationship.
So they're doing a genocide. Again, the highest crime humanity can commit. Might be a good opportunity to start talking about the off-ramp here. But no one can do it, right? Like, this entire interview is going to look ridiculous in 10 years when you look back on it all, you know, when the actual scale of the horrors and atrocities is fully comprehended and known and taught. Like, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, I hear you. Yeah, no, yeah. And we can see it with our own eyes. It is certainly very bad, but I got to say that, like, different things are different.
Is a long-term relationship.
It's hard for me to understand why we should ally. Like, I'm sure you believe in, like, or claim to believe in liberal human rights. Why would we ally with a nation that is committing a genocide and live streaming it?
Can I ask, literally, like this, I think about this from the mirror image way, because I do not support the things that Donald Trump is doing, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm an American. So do I want other countries to look at America and be like, we can't stand Donald Trump, so we're gonna end any longstanding relationship we have with the American people. We're going to cut off any support we give them on information sharing or intelligence sharing. Like, we are not just our elected leaders. And I think that's the thing that's been lost.
What? How far do you take this example? Say Donald Trump actually starts like murdering his political opponents, like does the final couple steps, because there's not a lot left. There's very few in terms of a complete fascistic dictatorship in the United States. You got the concentration camps, you got the defunding and the state control of media is taking place right now. Like, come on, we can go through the whole list, the Lugenpress, you name it. So he's very, very close, but there's a couple things that are left, and that is him actively murdering his political enemies for speaking shit about him. So if we get to that point and he's a full fascistic dictator, and in addition to that, starts doing like a Lebensraum, where he's like, I need more land, I want to take over Canada, they're the chair's 51st state, well, they're mine now, or shit like that. Yeah, at a certain point, other nations are probably going to be like, ooh, Yeah, I mean, he's gone full Hitler. We can't be sharing information with them. I mean, that has already been discussed, by the way. There's a lot of like, you know, ever since Trump started doing the Canada's the 51st state discussions within the internal security mechanisms of Canada. Maybe we should not be trading information directly with them because they could be using that potentially to invade us.
So B'Tselem and another Israeli human rights organization joined the global consensus, Amnesty International, some 800 scholars. There was a piece from an Israeli scholar in the New York Times in saying this is a genocide. Do you accept, even Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday came out and said it's a genocide. Do you accept that? And if you do, I mean, what responsibility does a United States senator have? For this is a nation that, you know, we send every year billions of dollars to aid that you have, you know, voted for and supported. Like, what responsibility does a United States senator have to prevent genocide and to stop genocide that we see ongoing?
We have a responsibility up till today to ensure that food is getting in.
Is it a genocide?
So you failed.
I don't know that I'd use that term.
Why?
But it is violating the law of war.
Why don't you use the term though?
Because I think, you know, it's, to me, do I think it's ethnic cleansing, which is what I think of in genocide? I don't know if it meets that definition.
They're
Yeah, but
announcing
didn't you
it.
say it earlier that it was ethnic cleansing? You said that they wanted to force it. I mean, this is open from the Israeli government. Like, they're saying it. Their
And from
Minister
Trump,
of National
too.
Security, they come out and they're like, we don't need shells. We need shells, not food. And we need to encourage migration.
Look,
they're saying
you're not going to get me to
Yeah.
support what the Israeli
surprise.
government is saying right now. I think the point I was trying to make is it's not just about, like, we have relationships with nations over time, regardless of who their leaders are. We have really tough moments. We have easier moments. But that doesn't, so I'm not willing to say that, like, I hate everything ever.
Sure,
into
but
the future.
even if you accept that they're committing a genocide.
This is incredible too, because you've broken her down so much that she's now speaking like a child, right? She's been like, I just don't want to be like they're evil, that they're baddies. I don't want to say that. I can acknowledge it's ethnic cleansing. That's enough. Are you not satisfied? Starving kids is wrong. We have a responsibility to try and starve less kids.
You still wouldn't cut off their aid?
I think that defensive aid and offensive aid are different things, and I think at this point,
So
what
if
they're
Nazi
doing
Germany,
every single day,
if Nazi Germany said we want defensive aid, I mean, it's just you have to see where they're all weapons that are being shipped. You know, in
they're
another
not using
context,
the weapons that they're using right now. I mean, to be honest, if you look at what's happening on the ground, the military part of this conflict is, for the most part, over. What they are doing,
Senator,
every single day is around aid, and they are hurting people
They have
around the
slaughtered over
delivery of
1,000
aid.
people who were starving people just trying to get aid.
That is
I
not
know you
high,
know this.
That's not high intensity bombs. That's not the weapons that that we were talking about 2 years ago. It's just not. I'm sorry. Every single day, the military reports that I read, they are traditional. Like, this is a military that has a bad strategy. It is not the bombs that we were seeing 2 years ago.
It's not a military that has a bad strategy. The strategy is forced starvation and ethnic cleansing. That's their strategy, and they're accomplishing it very effectively with the full backing of the United States government.
One of the reasons why a lot of politicians, especially liberal politicians and Zionists, are unwilling to actually use the term genocide is because of the connotations that come with that, the implications that come with that. Because once you acknowledge that, that's why so many, like, both, not just politicians, public figures, podcasters, streamers, debate perverts, all of them have just kept that one always off to the side and been consistently like, I will agree that war crimes are taking place. I will agree that they haven't been, I would say, completely morally justified in some of the things that they've done. I've called out some of the bad things that they've done before, and I've stated publicly that I don't think that those are the greatest, maneuvers or tactical concepts, to say the very least. But ultimately, I just want to be careful in the use of that word, because, like, if we dilute it, right, it loses the importance of what the word carries. And, like, I could not agree with Emma Vigeland almost like 2 years ago when she said this: normalize and democratize the use of that term. Because the more people who acknowledge it for what it is, which is a genocide, and the more people who use that openly to describe it, the more the reality that we have a moral obligation to stop it. I'm not even talking about to not arm it, which we are doing. All G7 nations are, by the way. That new report came out today as I'm fucking doing this stream in Canada, that we are sending more weapons and we're lying about it. We're actually openly lying that we're no longer selling military equipment, weaponry, ammunition to Israel. We're doing it. So that report came out. That was in the CBC. It's not in some fucking far leftist publication or anything like that. We're not even saying, hey, by the way, you should be doing everything in your power to stop this. Aren't we duty bound? You know, in the same way that actually South Africa stepped up, brought this to the ICC, said that we are accusing them of the highest crimes against humanity to try and get them to stop this, right? No one is saying, hey, by the way, militarily, shouldn't you be invading Israel to try and stop them from doing this genocide? Shouldn't you be intervening? Isn't that what the rules-based order is implying here? If you, in fact, have identified that they're doing that? You can't even go as far as getting them to stop, like, sending weapons. Yeah, well, there's a big difference between the Iron Dome and offensive weapons. Okay, offensive weapons then. I am open to discussing the possibility of having a conversation about that in the future, definitely.
Including, sadly, Democrats.
Well,
and so a couple more questions that I know you have to run. You know, I'm curious why you condemned Rashida Tlaib for using the rally chant, you know, from the river to the sea.
By the way, I just want to again show everybody when it comes to a question like, hey, by the way, as the senator just, you know, said with actual fucking hubris that, oh, well, I mean, you know, some of their strategy and what they've been doing is obviously complex and stuff like that. Like, this is recent drone footage that gives you a 360 view of northern Gaza. There's the spin. There's the 360. I think the reason it's important to show this is to acknowledge what took place here, which is a complete and total annihilation. There is literally nothing. I, in my lifetime, haven't seen this. There's nothing. There's no structures. There's no buildings. It's dust. It's death. Just death. All it is, as far as the eye can fucking see. And it doesn't matter how many times this kind of stuff gets leaked or shown or like, you know, is demonstrated before the world, you still get fucking cowards like the senator sitting there and confidently being like, well, I believe that their military strategy has been complex. And obviously people, I think rightfully, might be a little bit upset about hearing about the say, like the 2,000-pound bombs that have dropped on some of the civilian centers and stuff like that. But ultimately what they're doing now is more of a, you know, a military strategy of feeding and stuff like that. It's like, no, this is the mass starvation of the survivors of this fucking Holocaust. That's what's happening now. We're witnessing their slow torture and death. That's what we're witnessing now after the complete annihilation of everything. Everything. Like it's all gone. It's all been destroyed. How can you sit there and still try to do these old talking points? Something
she said for her evokes equal rights. And you have not condemned Randy Fine, who said that Gazans should, quote, starve away, who floated that the Gaza Strip should be nuked, who called Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Soran as well, called them Muslim terrorists. Where is the concern over him?
I have no problem condemning Randy Fine, who I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know who that person is. I have no problem condemning someone who talks like that.
Senator, we have to ask your last question because your staff is telling us. Do you think AIPAC should register as a foreign lobby?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that I know plenty of people.
I know you got $605,000 from AIPAC.
You know, I don't.
It's kind of a cop-out answer, don't you think?
I mean, yeah. I literally, I just guess I'd have to look at the definition. I certainly have had my tough moments with that organization, and
so you stop accepting their funding.
You gotta get your facts straight. I have not been.
Oh my God. I mean, we pulled it up earlier, but AIPAC-backed U.S. lawmaker slams Israel's seizure of occupied territory. Pro-Israel groups about Democratic endorsements.
Endorsed by AIPAC.
We'll pull it back out.
I'm sorry. I was the first Jew elected to the Senate that was not endorsed by any Jewish group. AIPAC, J Street.
You've been the recipient of their funds.
In 2018, when I first ran, people who were members, yes, but I've not been endorsed since then. And I just got to be honest.
If you've been endorsed.
I
That's
think
very
that
different.
this is where facts really matter. I've had very, very difficult conversations.
What are you talking about? Okay, again, here's the facts. Alyssa Slotkin, U.S. Senator, Michigan, $656,095 from AIPAC. Independent expenditures and campaign contributions received from pro-Israel interest groups. But they haven't endorsed her outright. That was her defense, right? She was like, well, they haven't openly endorsed me this year. Because I've said some pretty strong things. I don't know if you've heard my comments, but I've said some pretty big takes. Yeah.
With my colleagues in that organization, and made a choice back in 2021. So that was the first time I was up for re-election. So I understand that there's a sort of, like, again, cornered position, but to me, like, I call balls and strikes as someone who served in the Middle East.
I have one more question I have to ask you. You know,
from Halal Flow. Breaking, Senator Slotkin claims no AIPAC endorsement since 2021 after funding question. Records show 2022 cycle donations from AIPAC and other pro-Israel groups. On Breaking Point, Senator Alyssa Slotkin pushed back on criticism, telling Krystal Ball, "You've got to get your facts straight. I have not been endorsed by AIPAC. I have not." She continued, "I was the first Jew elected to the Senate that was not endorsed by any Jewish group, AIPAC, J Street. Krystal, you have been the recipient of their funds." Slotkin appeared to be referencing specifically to formal endorsements. However, public records did show that she received contributions from pro-Israel groups, including AIPAC and J Street, during the 2022 election cycle. She also said, in 2018, when I ran, people who were members, I've had very difficult conversations with my colleagues and made a choice back in 2021. I mean, the receipts are all fucking there. J Street PAC, $85,000. Like, why are you lying? I think she thought that by saying this sentence, which is, I guess, technically a factual statement, they have not endorsed me. Like, AIPAC hasn't said. AIPAC formally endorses Alyssa Slotkin as part of their current campaign. But you are fine taking hundreds of thousands of dollars of their money.
We do the show. I really do my best to try to uphold, like, you know, basic human rights, Palestinian humanity, oppose the killing of innocent civilians wherever that happens. And I have to tell you, like, I feel really guilty that I'm not doing enough. I think all the time about, I'm a mom, I think all the time about those moms who can't feed their babies. Mm-hmm. Those babies are starving to death. And I just want to know, like, you're a United States Senator, you did vote for some of the bombs that were dropped on refugee camps. When kids have been sniped in the head, tents firebombed, people set on fire. The entire Gaza Strip turned into rubble. And now we're seeing these emaciated bodies of babies starving to death every day. And I mean, like,
I know what you can do.
Does it eat you up? Does it eat you up? Do you think, like, what more could I do? Do you regret any of your votes? Do you regret
let me tell
any
you what
sort
I was
of
working on this morning. A group of Jewish rabbis and Muslim community leaders came together with a proposal that we are working on just getting, like, if we can't get other aid in, at least get baby formula and nutritional supplements.
Oh, you fucking monster. People have just honestly turned off their humanity. I can't tell you how many times I myself just, like, break, you know, either in the middle of the day or even when you're trying to discuss some of these things in the way, like, you know, you can just see at that point, like, you know, it was emotionally affecting Krystal in the same way it does everybody. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you know, you know. And every single one of these fucking senators knows. They absolutely know. They have access to more information in terms of the geopolitics of the United States than I do as a Canadian on the internet. So she knows how bad it is. And to be asked that question point blank, where it's just like, you still are voting to, like, give them the weapons necessary to do this starvation. Stop talking about crumbs. Stop patting yourself. I'll tell you what I'm proud of. A group of both Jewish people and Muslim people getting together to be able to come up with a plan where we're going to try and get some baby formula in there. So we're going to slow the genocide a little bit. Just slow it, just a couple of fucking crumbs. Just bring a little bit of food inside there. Are you going to keep arming the nation that is doing this? Because again, that's something that not a single one of you is willing to actually get on the record of admitting that you're making this possible. You can use all the passive voice in the world. Israel is the country that is stopping all of the food from coming in, that is causing the starvation. This is a man-made starvation by the US and by Israel and every other nation, including Canada, the UK, Germany, France, who are militarily supporting Israel. We make it possible. And if you want to use the defensive measures, like as if it's some kind of a gotcha, why do you think that they are bombing so many other countries without any fucking, like, no one is stopping this? Like every other day, it's like, oh yeah, they're bombing Iran, they're bombing fucking Jordan, they're helping the U.S. in a bombing campaign in Yemen, they're going to be bombing Lebanon, they're going to be, like, every other day you hear this shit, they're bombing Syria, and it's like, well, yeah, because I believe that, like, you know, as long as the U.S. is continuously funding their defensive capabilities, they might be doing that with impunity. They might not care about the potential consequences of bombing all these other sovereign nations who are just fucking having to take it because you don't want to fuck up and anger the United States. You don't want the United States to come after you.
For children in. Let that be kind of
a be the next Gaza.
Green light, never has a problem. No one's trying to eat baby formula other than a baby, right? That is the proposal that I've been working on all night and this morning. So in terms of what we're trying to do, there's not a moment that goes by that this isn't something that I'm working on and something that my own community, not online, but my own community has practical things that they want to do. They're willing to raise the money. They're willing to buy the formula. They're willing to do whatever we need to do to get it shipped in. That's how I spend my time.
But you're not willing to cut off aid to Israel?
That to me is the most effective thing that I can do today.
This is a subtle question. Your staff is telling us you absolutely have to go. So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming.
Senator.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we'll see you guys later.
I'm actually astounded the staff didn't pull the ripcord way earlier. Like, maybe at like this point in the interview, 5 minutes in. Your staff is telling us that apparently you just have to leave now. Yeah, really? Wow, we only talked for about 5 minutes. Yeah. It's real bad. It looks horrible. It looks really bad for you.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwick, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons. Head on down to patreon.com/theserfs. That's patreon.com